All right, guys. So here's another assignment I gave to you. Hopefully you noticed in the first section of your assignment page. I just added this on last night. Okay. We're going to do the unit circle again, this time with radians. Radians, guys, is another way to measure rotation and angles in mathematics. It's actually the preferred way, as you'll find out once you get to college. Okay, but anyways, let's get started. So, we already did practice radians degrees. If you missed out on that, I made an earlier video a week or two ago where we were converting between radians and degrees. We are now going to pick this one right here. Practice. Unit circle with radians. Okay? And as you can notice, all the rest of these are videos. Again, you don't have to watch these, although they'd be worth watching, I would tell you. All right? I'd rather watch my videos before I watch these videos, but again, that's your call. So anyways, we're going to do the practice unit circle with radians. Should look familiar if you did the last video with me. If you look at point A, guys, notice point A is in the first quadrant here. And if you look, that angle's fairly small. What would you say? Maybe about 30, 40 degrees-ish? Right? And so here are your choices. Oh boy, they're in radians. It's weird with those pi's in there, right? So what are we going to do? Well, guys, let's talk about this a little bit more in depth. First of all, if I go from here to here, that's 90 degrees. That's also pi over 2. It's half of a pi. All right? If I go a full 180 degrees, you ought to know that's pi. So if I do another 180, that would be 2 pi. Okay? If I went 1.5 pi's, that would be 3.5 pi's at 270 degrees. So these are the ones, guys, that you definitely should basically memorize. 90 degrees is pi over 2. 180 degrees is pi. 3 pi over 2 is 270 degrees. 2 pi is the same thing as saying 360 degrees. And by the way, I showed that to you with a circumference in another video if you remember watching that. So, let's clean this up a little bit. Pause it and take notes if you like first, though, before I clean it up. Okay, enough talking and explain. Let's get right to the work. So as we discussed earlier, this A right here, I think they showed it a little bit bigger than it should be, by the way. But remember, we're guesstimating here. It's definitely smaller than pi over 2. Because you should know pi over 2 is 90 degrees. Okay? So, if you look at your choices, guys, this one can't be right because if you do 4 divided by 3, guys, that's 1.33 pi. That's bigger than pi over 2. Remember, pi over 2 is half of a pi. Alright? Now, this right here, 3/5, if you do 3 divided by 5, is 0.6 pi's. So, again, that's bigger than, remember, pi over 2 is 0.5 pi, or pi over 2, right? So, our only two good choices are this one and this one, but 3 over 7, guys, if you divide that, again, I'm guesstimating here a little bit, but it's definitely smaller. I don't have my calculator with me, but let's say that's around 0.4 something. 0.4 something pi. Again, I'm approximating here. The whole point is pi over 5. If I did 1 divided by 5 is 0.2 pi's. And that's what we have at point A, okay? This is a pretty small angle right here, bottom line. So I'm going to pick pi over 5 because 1/5 is 0.2. It's a small angle, okay? And I'm going to get it right. All right. What about point B? Well, as we discussed already, that's bigger than 1. That's 1.33 pi again. This one is bigger than half of a pi. Remember, from here to there is pi over 2 or 0.5 of a pi, because 1 divided by 2 is 0.5. Okay, it's half of a pi. So That's why this time I'm going to select 3 pi over 7. Because it's bigger than pi over 2. And we already talked about, sorry, pi over 5. We already talked about how 3 pi over 7 is almost half a pi. It's around 0.4 pi. And that's what we got there. So B is that one. Okay? What about this one right here? Notice, guys, this is a full pi, 180 degrees. This goes past 1 pi. So hopefully you agree, that's about 1.33 pies, which is what 4/3 is. So if you learn nothing else, guys, what you can do with your calculator is just divide the fraction part, and that tells you how many pies you have. A pi is a half of a circle. So again, notice on this one, I went 1 pi and a little bit more of a second pi, right? A third of another pi to get to there. Okay, that's 1.33 pi, in other words. 4/3 pi, or 4 pi over 3. So you're going to select that first choice. You're going to get it right. Now, let's go to this one right here. They want us to do cosine of 3 pi over 4. Now, guys, if I take 3 divided by 4, that's 0.75 pi. Remember, this is 1 pi. So what would 3/4 pi do? It would go to about right there, and sure enough, that's where B is. So we know we're going to pick B, because that's 3/4 of a pi. They want the cosine, and remember, cosine is x, sine is y. Cosine is x, sine is y. That's one of the things hopefully you'll memorize, okay? Cosine is x, sine is y. So, we want cosine, so we want the x-coordinate of B, and that's why you're going to pick choice C. Let's do one more of these, and then we'll be ending the video. Let's say on this one, they give us 3 pi over 2. Does that make sense? Remember, guys, this is pi. This would be another half of a pi, you see? And that's what 3 pi over 2 is. It's 270 degrees again. You ought to memorize that. 3 pi over 2. Again, take a look at this. If I did 3 divided by 2, that's 1.5. I've done 1 and another half of a pi. Remember, a pi is half of a circle. So it's 3/4 of a circle, in other words. So, anyways, so they want point A. They want the y coordinate. Remember, cosine is x, sine is y. They want the sine of A. They want the sine of 270. Okay? So, if you look at your choices, I'm going to do the sine of 270. Remember, that's 270. 3 pi over 2. I'm going to pick E. Now, guys, hopefully that made sense. And, again, let me know if you're still struggling with this. You got to struggle with it to learn it. Getting ahead of myself here. But I did assign it to you. If you notice on your assignment page, see the unit circle, the review. This is what I covered in the last video. Here's the one we just did. Please don't forget to do the other ones that I've assigned to you over the last week or two. I put them on the front of your assignment by design. Okay? It's in your assignment page. Even if you're IM2, this is something I want you to learn. Even though it's technically IM3, get familiar with the unit circle. We skipped this problem. Hopefully you don't mind. You'll figure that out on your own. Hopefully. But anyways, guys, please do this. Please do what I assigned to you. I'm not giving you a lot. I'm only asking for a few minutes out of your long week every week. That's all I'm doing. So anyways, I'll see you around.